So Heather, thank you so much for being a part of our community and practice channel here on YouTube. And on behalf of SETI, I want to thank you for your leadership today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. So as always, we begin by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we are on. We also acknowledge our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all the elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So if you can please do us the honors by introducing yourself to our listeners and viewers and tell us about your amazing work.
Sure. So I'm Heather Lacey, and I'm the executive director for an organization that's based out of Ottawa called ABLE2. The organization was formerly known as Citizen Advocacy of Ottawa Carleton, and it's been around for a little over 50 years now. So we decided to change the name in 2020. So our acronym stands for Ability, Benevolence, Liberty, Empowered. And the number 2 represents the first and longest running program that we have at ABLE2. Our vision is to build an inclusive community where all people are seen as able, important, and valued. And we work towards ensuring that that vision becomes reality every day. So we do it through our programs, right? So our programs are really designed to promote independence, reduce isolation, advocate for justice and inclusion, and support families. So we have a matching program which pairs individuals with disabilities with volunteers. And what that does is we intentionally match people with the same interests, same age, areas of location, in the hopes that a friendship will develop and will exist outside of the organization. We currently have close to 175 matches, which are successful and working. The longest matches we've had have been 25 years. We currently have 150 people waiting to be matched, which is incredible. We also have a funding brokerage. So this service helps individuals manage funding that they get from the government. Oftentimes, that people that get that kind of government funding have to spend the money before they get the money back. So many times people are on fixed incomes and can't really afford to do that. So we help them with that through our funding brokerage. We also have a legal referral service. So if you're an individual with a disability and you become involved with the law, you can fill out a form, speak to one of our volunteer legal students, and get referred to a lawyer or a paralegal or mediator for 3 hours of free legal advice. We pick from 200, we have 200 lawyers, paralegals, and mediators on a roster. They volunteer their time. We have a program, fetal alcohol resource program for children and youth up to the age of 18 or 21 if they're still in school, that supports individuals who have a diagnosis of fetal alcohol spectrum disorder or are suspected of having that disorder as well. And then we have something called an adult protective service and housing support. So if you're an individual with a disability and you come to us through our Developmental Services Ontario, then we help you to find housing if you're ready to be independent. So that work is really especially difficult now because access to housing, affordable housing, is a challenge. Also, there isn't a lot of housing available, as you probably know. In Toronto, you're probably experiencing the same level of issue there as well. It's incredible how expensive it is, and if you're on a fixed income, then you really can't afford to pay $1,700 or $1,800 a month or $2,000 a month. So Yeah, so those are some of the things that we do. That's some of the work that we do. I come to the disability sector having lived experience. I have a son with a disability, and as well, I had an uncle that I grew up with in the same house who also had a disability, and who at the time, at that time, a very long time ago, but at that time, the recommendation was to put individuals with disabilities in institutions, and my grandmother resisted that advice. And basically, my uncle had a really rich life. He had a job, his own bank account. He did all of his own he had his own social group, and so I grew up with that, with that strength in my home. And so when I had a son with a disability as well, then we applied that to our son, to our attitude about how to ensure that he lived a life that was rich and full as well.
Right, right. Well, we definitely see the passion and your why, and that's so, so important in this, and in getting the proper care, right? And facilities that are accessible to
Yeah.
our persons in need for sure. So let me ask you, what challenges or barriers have you faced in your work, and how have you overcome them or in the process of overcoming them?
So yeah, I mean, obviously, the biggest challenge really is to try to and since the pandemic, this has been really highlighted now, but it really is to adapt and become more flexible. The community needs are changing, and you see that all the time, right? And that flexibility needs to be demonstrated in your programs. So, again, we're looking at this through, obviously we want to stay grounded in our values, right? Like you want to approach things with dignity, autonomy, inclusion, right? You want to ensure that you develop those strong partnerships. But, we're doing this in an environment of limited resources, right? So we rely a lot on those short-term grants. There's capacity strain as well. We only have, like, for example, ABLE2 has 23 staff, which means that we all do a lot with so little. Then, again, too, there's all the new technology coming out and the digital transformation. It could be extremely beneficial to ABLE2. But again, trying to adapt to the new technology costs money. And there's not often a lot of funding to help organizations build that infrastructure that's required for, a more efficient utilization. And then, of course, there's all the policy and, the policy and gaps within the government as well, right? They're often like the policies are inconsistent, rules are inconsistent. And then, of course, there's increasing complexity for individuals with disabilities, right? So now their needs are even more. It's not just about accessible housing, but now it's about trying to access mental health services, right? And ensuring that the services that you are getting are customized to your needs, right? So things are much more complex out there, and the demand for our services, well, as demonstrated by, a waiting list of 150 people, the demand for our services are just increasing at an alarming rate, right? So, and again, and also ensuring that we're doing what we believe is true inclusion. So we have a group with our organization called our Consumer Action Committee, and we try to consult them. They're all people with lived experience, and we try to consult them when we're anticipating that we might make some changes in the organization or the programming, right? So we try to consult as much as possible. And we really want to make sure that our consultation is authentic and not just because we have to. And I think, seeing more of that within our community, we definitely want to see that, because I think it really is, nothing, you don't make decisions without that consultation, right? It's
Right.
and then, of course, trying to trying to attack public awareness and misconceptions about people with disabilities, right? There's a reason why, within the disability sector, the unemployment rate is much higher. I think people still carry around stigma about what it means to be a person with a disability. Whether that disability is a developmental disability, a physical disability, I think that stigma still exists out there, and we have to ensure that we're doing everything we can to educate the communities about the value that people with disabilities bring to a workplace, to communities, to volunteerism. Yeah. So, yeah.
Awesome. Very, very, very key, important and key points. So actually, let me ask you really briefly, if you can just say, how do you feel about the future of social impact in Canada? If you were to summarize very quick.
Oh, yeah, okay. If I summarize really quickly, I mean, I feel pretty positive. I think as long as things are moving forward, right? I think as long as we're being adaptable and flexible, and you're seeing examples of that, right? I think you need to be inclusive. I think we need a community where everybody is going to be given opportunity to succeed and live the life they really want to live. I really think we're moving towards a more evidence-based service, right? Where it's not just about, kind of your output, but it's now about like the long-term impact, right? Getting to the root of a problem, not just like, not being driven by what's in front of you, but really what is the root of that? Is it poverty? Is it like discrimination? What is that? And how do we deal with that? I see examples of that. And I think, we are becoming more collaborative and purpose-driven, right? So being collaborative means looking at non-traditional partnerships, going out and partnering with a business, which wasn't traditional before, right? Us, people in nonprofit or in charities, we would always partner with other like organizations. But I think it's worth looking at different partners that you wouldn't normally approach, like businesses, to create that connection. So I don't know, but I think it's moving forward. I mean, it may not be moving forward as fast as we'd all like it. We all go, Jesus, 2025, like, why are we still behind? But it is moving forward. And I think it's important to call it out when it's not moving forward, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, very important.
Yeah.
We definitely have to be aware. Well, Heather, this has been very informative. We really appreciate all that you do. We see the passion and we know your why, and why it's so important to definitely, amplify this work that we're doing. So my last question to you is, any closing thoughts or calls to actions at this time?
Yes, absolutely. So I did prep one because I think this is really important, but we believe that everybody deserves to live a life of dignity and respect, right? Connection and possibility. And so the barriers that people with disabilities face, they're real and they're complex, right? I mean, they're deeply rooted, and it's going to take a lot of time across the board to like dismantle those, right? They're ingrained in us. So what I'm asking is that you join us. You join us as a donor, as a volunteer, a partner, or an advocate, that you stand with us to ensure people with disabilities have the tools and the choices they need to thrive, and then to invest in inclusion and help to shape the community, right? We want a community where everybody belongs, and really it's up to all of us to promote that and ensure and invest in that. So every action matters, every voice matters. So I want people to join us in building that future. So that's my message. That's my call to action.
That's perfect and very, very important. Again, I mean, it's all about inclusivity, and that's what we're trying to really amplify and get that message across. And the future is watching, and the future wants to know what's going on, right? What bag are we leaving for them, or what legacy are we leaving for them in order for them to carry on this mission? Because we are laying the foundation, but we have to give them something that they'd be able to pass on, right?
Right, exactly. Absolutely.
All right. So we want to thank you on behalf of SETSI once again for taking the time out. And we will close the way that we began by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we are on. We also acknowledge our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all the elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So Heather, once again, thank you so much, and we'll definitely be in touch, okay?
Great. Thanks for having me. I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Likewise, likewise. Take care.
Take care. Bye.